once you have all the contracts set up in blockchain, what's going to stop people from just pulling out all their money in the bank and causing the same issues that exist nowadays, and the same fraud still occurs?
Sure. Yeah. So, one of the things that I think it makes a lot of sense to clarify about what we're doing in construction with blockchain and what blockchain can do is we can't, it's not going to solve all the problems, right? Like if there's a nefarious actor who's going to take money early and, set it aside and, go over budget on the project, things like that are still possible. Nothing can really make that impossible. What blockchain can do is a couple things in that scenario. One, it can make it less likely that happens because it gives more transparency to other parties, the counterparties in those scenarios, who might be on the lookout for things like that, right? So if a sub is trying to, get a bunch of money early, the general contractor has more visibility into them trying to do something like that. And you can also write different rules into the code with blockchain that make things happen automatically or stop certain things from happening. So you could, write in rules that a contractor can't get, more than, let's say, 25% of their contract before a certain date, because the progress complete in the field wouldn't make sense. But let me take that payment scenario and talk about what blockchain can do and what it can improve. So, obviously when we are getting paid in construction, there's still going to be some form of human intervention that is necessary, right? You still need a project manager to walk the job for now, or look at pictures or look at some virtual reality rendering and say, okay, 50% of that wall, the drywall is hung on that wall, right? So the percent complete I agree with is 50%. So you still need that. But what you can do now is remove some of the trust processing or the trust paperwork that goes with that, save companies money, reduce the delays that happen in getting paid. So let's take the lien waiver process, because this is a really good example of how blockchain can directly improve a process. So lien waivers. At every phase of construction, every stakeholder who wants to get paid on the project has to fill out a lien waiver, right? So when I turn in my application for payment to the general contractor, the owner, lender, whoever it is, I say, okay, I'm asking for 50% of this work completed. And that's going to come with, on my G702, G703 sheet. Then every person who wants to get paid with that pay application has to turn in their lien waiver. So a supplier has to turn in their lien waiver to the subcontractor. Subcontractor has to review it, make sure the amount's correct, make sure the date's correct, make sure it's in compliance, right? When the subcontractor then goes to get paid for the funds that they're owed, plus the supplier is owed, they have to turn in a lien waiver to the general contractor, right? Who does the same thing, checks all the waivers for compliance, make sure it's all in line, okay? Then the general contractor who wants to get paid from the owner for them and their lower tier obligations has to turn in a lien waiver to the owner or title company. And what does the owner or title company have to do? Check it for compliance, make sure, right? So that's all manual trust building. So now let's introduce a blockchain with something called a smart contract, which basically is just code that executes automatically. What we can do is build into the code and make sure that the code checks that the lien waiver is created properly and checks that it is in compliance, right? So now all of those different parties who used to have to manually, process lien waivers, our system does that automatically once you turn in a pay application. Like the lien waiver and the pay application are now tied together. Why couldn't you do that beforehand, right? Why couldn't you just say, hey, Procore, automate that process for me? It's because of the lack of trust, right? That document, the lien waiver, when it comes to payments, that could cost me $100,000, right? Like if I say, okay, go ahead and automate it, don't show me my lien waiver, I don't care. What if you create and sign that lien waiver for $50,000, but I'm actually owed $100,000, right? Remember, the non-transparency of databases, those walled off, closed off databases, makes it so I can't see into your database. So if Procore tried to do this, there's no way to prove it.
Yeah.
So as a business, as a distrusting business, I'm a subcontractor, I'm going to say, well, that's cool, but I can't trust that. It's too big of a business risk for me. You can't sign my lien waiver for me. So right now, a large construction company, we work with, multiple ENR top 100 general contractors. They're spending about $300,000 per year just in managing lien waivers, which are like a nothing burger in the general, construction management hierarchy, right? Like it's a small document. So introducing blockchain allows you to change user behavior. It allows you to introduce new user behavior. So in that lien waiver scenario, when you turn in your pay app, all the lien waiver is handled. So 99% of that effort is gone. All of the parties still get to the end point they want. They get a filled out, signed, confirmed lien waiver in their, file folder or whatever they want. But the manual trust building has been removed from that. And we've now automated that entire process. You think about what that can do at a larger scale in procurement of materials, which involves 4 or 5 parties, in payments as a whole, with our lower tier affidavits, joint checks, things like that, in contract administration, in document management. All of these processes are things that happen between multiple stakeholders. And that's why when you introduce trust from the base layer of the software, the end user benefits you can do are very impressive. So the last thing I'll say on this, one of the big general contractors we're working with, ENR Top 100 contractor, I mentioned $300,000 per year in lien waivers alone.
Yeah.
Just lien waivers, we're saving them $300,000 per year. That's the power of blockchain and what you can do when you have a blockchain-based software.